Auntie Bebe returned, she stood alone in the storage room staring at the cake. She had seen good cakes, mediocre cakes, and bad cakes. This was something else entirely. The fondant had visible wrinkles running down all three tiers like stress line. The plastic flowers were obviously plastics that they still had the slight sheen of factory coating. The gold detailing looked less like elegant brushwork and more like someone had sneezed metallics onto white frosting. And the top tier sat on a slit angle, smaller than it should be, like a child's tall hat perched on top of a snowman. And Sibingbe had a decision to make, but she couldn't let the bride discover it herself. She pulled out her phone and called Choma's mother. That's where we started. Choma's mother arrived at the venue 20 minutes later, her wrapper flying behind her as she rushed through the reception hall entrance. Auntie Bimpe was waiting near the cake table, but the cake table was empty. The woman had been Choma's nanny when she was young, practically family, which is why she volunteered to help coordinate the wedding. Where is it? Choma's mother asked. Auntie Bimpe gestured toward the back room. We moved it. You need to see it first before we discuss what to do. Now, in the storage room, Choma's mother circled the cake like it was a crime scene. This is not what we ordered, she said quietly. I know, ma. This is not worth 90,000 naira. I know, ma. The flowers are plastic. Yes, ma. Choma's mother touched one of the flowers gingerly, as if it might bite her. It wobbled under her finger, clearly attached with nothing more than a prayer and some buttercream. Where is Chioma now? The hotel with her bridesmaids, busy with hair and makeup. Don't call her, not yet. She turned to Auntie Bibe. What are our options? Auntie Bibe had been thinking about this since the moment she saw the cake. The cake stared at them with its plastic flowers and cooked up tear. We can't show her this, her mother said finally. Not before the wedding. It will destroy her. So what do we do? Take her number. Call Adeze. They had to come back and fix this nonsense. Auntie Bibe called. Adeze did not answer. She called again. No answer. She sent a WhatsApp message. Adeze, please call urgently. The message showed two great ticks. Delivered but not read. Choma's mother made a decision. Call Sweet Dreams now. Auntie Bibe's eyes widened. Mama, the wedding is in 6 hours. Call them. Auntie Bibe called. A cheerful voice answered. Sweet Dreams Bakery, good morning. Please, this is an emergency. Do you have any wedding cakes available? Anything at all? Our baker, there's been a situation. Oh, I'm so sorry. All our cakes for today are already allocated to clients. We are completely booked. Auntie Bimpe's heart sank. Please, anything. My daughter's wedding is at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. today. Yes, there was a long pause. Man, I really wish I could help. But we need at least 48 hours for a wedding cake. There's nothing we can do in 6 hours. Bimpe hung up. She called 3 more bakeries. All of them said the same thing. Too short notice. Impossible. Sorry. By the time they had exhausted their options, Choma's mother stood in the storage room staring at the disaster cake, feeling defeated. Auntie Bimpe looked around desperately, as if inspiration might be hiding behind the folded chairs. Then her eyes landed on something. The flower arrangements for the reception tables were stacked in the corner, waiting to be placed on the table. Fresh white roses, baby's breath, dozens of them. Ma, she said slowly, what if we cover it? Cover it with what? Flowers, real flowers. We take some of the centerpieces, add them all over this cake, cover the plastic ones, cover the wrinkles, cover everything, turn it into something else. Choma's mother looked at her, then at the cake with the plastic flowers and wrinkled fondants, then at the fresh arrangements in the corner. It won't be what Choma ordered, But it won't be this. Auntie Bimpe finished. They stood there for a moment, weighing their options. They had no other choice. Do it, Chioma's mother said, and call Amara. Tell her to go to ShopRite right now. Tell her to buy the biggest, nicest cakes they have. At least 3. Plain white or cream, nothing with cartoon characters or birthday messages. Auntie Bipe pulled out her phone and called. Amara, listen carefully. I need you to go to ShopRite Ikeja right now. What? Why? I'm helping Chioma with her makeup. Leave someone else with her. This is an emergency. Go to ShopRite and buy 3 large white cakes. The nicest ones they have. Spend whatever you need to spend. Auntie Bipe, what's happening? Just do it and bring them to the venue storage room. Don't let Chioma see them. She hung up and turned to Chioma's mother. She's going now. Good. Now let's fix this nonsense. They got to work, and the Bimbe started carefully pulling off the plastic flowers, one by one. Each one left a crater in the fondant, exposing the cheap material underneath. Some took chunks of icing with them. Jesus, Chioma's mother whispered, seeing just how bad it really was under those plastic decorations. While Auntie Bimpe removed the fake flowers, Chioma's mother started pulling roses and baby's breath from the centerpiece arrangement. She stripped off excess leaves, kept the stem long enough to push into the cake, gathered them in her hands like a bride's bouquet. For the next 40 minutes, they walked in focused silence, pressing fresh roses into the fondant where the plastic flowers had been, covering the wrinkles with cascading blooms, surrounding that cooked top tier with so many flowers you could barely see the fondant anymore, disguising the tricky gold paint with layers of white petals and green stems, creating a barrier of beauty to hide the disaster underneath. Chioma's mother stood back, breathing hard. What do you think? Auntie Bimpe tilted her head, examining their work. The cake looked completely different now. Where before it had looked cheap and obviously long, it now looked intentional, artistic, even like a cake that had been designed to be a garden, not a cake that was hiding its sins under flowers. It's actually not bad, Auntie Bimbe said carefully. If you didn't know what was underneath, you would think it was a style choice. But we know what's underneath. Yes, we do. They both knew this was just a cover-up. The structure was still weak. The fondant was still wrinkled beneath the blooms. The top tier was still cooked and small. But at least now, from a distance, it looked presentable. At 10:15, Amara rushed through the storage room door, slightly out of breath, carrying 2 large shopping bags. I got them, 3 cakes, the biggest white ones they had. She set the bags on a different table and pulled out the boxes. Plain white ShopRite cakes, mass-produced, professional, clean, not fancy, but perfectly acceptable. Chioma's mother looked at them and felt a wave of relief. Good, perfect. Hide them in the back corner. Cover them with that tablecloth. We'll bring them out when it's time to serve the guests. Wait, Amara said, finally looking at the main cake. Is that the same cake from this morning? We made adjustments, Auntie Bipe said. With 3 flowers. Yes. Amara walked closer, examining it. She could see where the real flowers had been pushed into the fondant, could see how they covered every problematic area, could see that this was clearly a rescue mission, not a design choice. Does Chioma know? No, her mother said firmly, and she's not going to know. Not today. But Mama, she will see it. She will see flowers, beautiful fresh flowers on her wedding cake. And if she asks questions, we will tell her that Ade made creative adjustments. That's all. When it's time for cake cutting, Chioma and her husband will make the ceremonial cut on this one for photos. Then Auntie Bito will take it to the back. We will serve the ShopRite cakes to the guests. Nobody will know the difference. Amara looked at her mother, then at Auntie Bimpe, then at both cakes. The flour-covered disaster and the simple honest ShopRite alternative. This is insane. This is survivor, her mother corrected. Now go back to your sister. Keep her calm. Keep her happy. And for the love of God, keep her away from this venue until everything is ready. Amara nodded and left. Alone again. Choma's mother and Auntie Bimpe stood looking at the handwork. 2 cakes, one for show covered with lies and flowers, one for eating simple and true. At 11:30, they made one more attempt to call Adeze. This time, miracle of miracles. It rang and someone answered. Hello? Adeze's voice was cautious. Adeze, Auntie Bimpe didn't even try to hide her anger. Where are you? Good morning, Ma. Is everything all right? No, everything is not all right. The cake, didn't the pictures look good? Choma said. The pictures were lies. Have you seen the actual cake you delivered? There was silence. Adeze, the flowers are plastic. The fondant is wrinkled like an old woman's face. The top tier is crooked. Where are you right now? Ma, I had to travel. Family emergency. My grandmother in Ibadan is very sick. You delivered the cake at 7 a.m. and then you traveled to Ibadan. It was sudden. My cousins called right after I dropped off the cake and said I needed to come immediately. Adeze, this is a wedding cake. Chioma paid you 90,000 naira. Ma, I'm sorry you're not satisfied with the artistic direction, but I did my best with the resources available. She hung up on me. Auntie Pipe said, her voice tight. She's in Ibadan, claiming family emergency. She won't come back. She won't refund the money. She just hung up. At 12:30, they moved the flower-covered cake to the main display table in the reception hall. It looked beautiful under the lights, romantic, even. You couldn't see the disaster underneath. You couldn't see the plastic flowers hidden underneath the real ones. You couldn't see the wrinkles or the crooked tear or the cheap fondants. You just saw roses, dozens and dozens of white roses cascading down teary tears. From a distance, it was actually stunning. Up close, well, they had just have to make sure nobody looked too close. The ShopRite cakes remained in the storage room, carefully hidden, waiting for their moment, the backup plan. At 1:30 p.m., Chioma arrived at the venue, radiant in her white dress, glowing with joy. The ceremony went beautifully. The vows were perfect. The prayers were heartfelt. Then came the reception entrance. The DJ started the music. The MC's voice boomed through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome for the very first time Mr. and Mrs. Adeyemi. The doors opened. Chioma and her husband burst in, dancing. The guests erupted. Money sprayed in the air. Camera flashes everywhere. They danced down the aisle, looking, laughing. They danced down the aisle, laughing, spinning, completely caught up in the moment. The bridal party followed, dancing behind them. The energy was electric. They danced to the high table, still moving to the music, waving the guests, posing for photos. It was perfect. It was joyful. It was everything a Nigerian wedding entrance should be. They finally sat down at the high table, breathless and laughing. The MC was talking, introducing family members, making jokes. Choma was smiling, waving, accepting congratulations from people approaching the table. And then, during a brief, quiet moment while the MC paused to let the videographer reposition, Choma's eyes drifted to the cake table. Her smile froze. That wasn't her cake. That couldn't be her cake. Her cake had delicate sugar flowers and smooth fondants and elegant gold details. This This was buried under what looked like an entire flower shop. Her heart started pounding. She could feel the panic rising in her chest. But 300 people were watching. 300 phones were pointed at the high table. She couldn't make a scene. Not now. Not here. She kept her smile fixed in a place and softly caught her mother's eye across the room. She tilted her head slightly toward the cake table. Her mother saw it. She saw her daughter's face. She knew that look. She quickly excused herself from the table she was at and made her way to the high table, smiling at guests as she went. Darling, she said brightly, leaning down to kiss Choma's cheek. Everything is beautiful, isn't it? Choma's smile didn't reach her eyes. She leaned in close, her voice barely a whisper, tight with controlled emotion. Mama, what happened to my cake? Her mother's face remained pleasant, but Choma saw the flicker. What do you mean, dear? That is not what I ordered. Her voice was still a whisper, but there was still in it now. That is not the cake from the pictures. What happened? Her mother leaned even closer, her voice equally low. Aditi made some adjustments, last-minute creative choices. We added fresh flowers to enhance it. Mama, Shoma's jaw was tight. I'm not stupid. Something is wrong with that cake and you covered it with flowers. Her mother smiled strained. Shoma, sweetheart, let's not. How bad is it? It's fine for photos. How bad is it? Her mother hesitated. Then quietly, we'll talk after the wedding. Just smile for now, please. Joma felt sick, but she was at the high table, in front of everyone, in her wedding dress, with her husband beside her, oblivious, chatting with his best man. She had no choice. She plastered a smile back on her face, laughed when she was supposed to laugh, posed when the photographer called for photos. But inside, she was screaming, 90,000 naira. What had Adezi done? The reception continued. Speeches, toast, food service, dancing. Every few minutes, Choma's eyes would drift back to that cake table, to the mountain of flowers hiding. What? Her husband finally noticed. Babe, you keep looking at the cake. You okay? She forced brightness into her voice, just excited to cut it. Lie. She was dreading it. And then finally, inevitably, the moment came. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced dramatically, it is time for the cutting of the cake. Chioma's stomach dropped. The DJ hit the spotlight. The guests started gathering, phones up. Chioma and her husband stood. She could feel her hands trembling. She walked to the cake table like she was walking to an execution. Up close, it was worse. The flowers were everywhere, clearly placed to hide something. She could see gaps in the fondant between the blooms. She could say, was that plastic? Was that a plastic flower peeking out from under the real ones? Her husband took her hand. Ready? Yes, she said. The photographer positioned himself. Big smiles. Choma smiled. It felt like her face might crack. She picked up the knife. Her mother was in the crowd, looking like she might vomit. Auntie Pipe stood nearby, her hand over her mouth. 300 guests pressed closer. Over 100 phones recorded. Chioma positioned the knife at the bottom tier. Please hold together, she prayed silently. Please don't let me be embarrassed in front of everyone, please. She pressed the knife down. The cake resisted. The fondant was too thick. She pressed harder. The knife finally sank in, and that's when she felt it. The shift. The terrible, unmistakable shift of something unstable. Wait, she started. But it was too late. The tucked tear, that small crooked tear that had been hidden under a cascade of roses, began to move, slowly, like a nightmare in slow motion. Everyone saw it. The tilt, the slide, The flowers couldn't hide it anymore, couldn't hold it in place. The tears slid across the second tier, pushing roses aside as it went. Oh my God! Someone in the crowd whispered. Choma's hand, together with her husband's, was still on the knife, frozen. She watched, helpless, as the top tier reached the edge, wobbled, and then fell. It hit the white tablecloth with a wet, heavy thump. Fondant cracked open. Cheap, thick, wrinkled fondants. Flowers scattered everywhere. Real ones mixed with plastic ones that had been hidden underneath. Cake crumbled, showing the uneven, poorly made interior. The reception hall went completely silent. The DJ had stopped the music. 300 guests stood frozen, hundreds of whom were still recording what would become the most memorable moment of the day. For all the wrong reasons, Choma stared at the wreckage, at the smashed tear on the table, at the plastic flowers now visible in the mess, at the exposed amateur disaster that had been hiding under all those real roses. She could feel everyone's eyes on her, feel their pity, their second-hand embarrassment. She could see her mother's horrified face, see Auntie B looking like she might cry, see her bridesmaids exchanging shocked glances. This was it, the moment that would define her wedding in everyone's memory, not the beautiful vows, not the joyful dancing, not the love, the cake, the disaster cake that just committed suicide in front of 300 witnesses. She wanted to cry. She wanted to scream. She wanted to find Aunt Daisy and strangle her with her own wedding veil. But she couldn't do any of that because everyone was watching. So instead, Shoma did the only thing she could do. She threw her head back and she laughed. Not polite laughter, not nervous giggling, real loud from her belly laughter that echoed through the silent hall. 90,000 naira, she announced to the room, still laughing, tears streaming down her face, whether from laughter or suppressed crying. Even she wasn't sure. The tension broke. A few nervous chuckles rippled through the crowd. Her husband stared at her, consigned. Babe, no, 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 it's fine. She was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. This is fine. This is perfect. Because now nobody will ever forget my wedding, right? More laughter from the guests now. Relief laughter. Permission to find this funny. You know what? Choma grabbed the knife again. Let's cut what's left. Why not? We have already given everyone a show. She plunged the knife into the remaining two tiers. With dramatic flair, the crowd erupted in applause and laughter. The photographer captured it all. Her laughing, her husband laughing, the destroyed cake, the scattered flowers, the whole beautiful, ridiculous mess. But Auntie Bimpe could see the truth, could see how tightly Chama was gripping that knife, could see the slight tremor in her shoulders, could see that she wasn't laughing because it was funny. She was laughing because if she didn't laugh, she would break down completely. And she couldn't do that. Not here. Not in front of 300 people who would remember this day forever. So she laughed. And everyone laughed with her. And nobody knew that inside she was absolutely devastated. While the guests applauded Choma's grace under pressure, Auntie Bimpe moved quickly. She signaled to two servers, "Help me take this to the back." They lifted what remained of the flower-covered disaster and carried it away from view, away from the cameras. Then Auntie Bimpe in the storage room uncovered the ShopRite cakes. Simple, plain. She quickly cut them into neat slices and arranged them on 7 platters. Within 15 minutes, servers were circulating through the hall with cake, plain white cake. Nobody complained. Nobody noticed they were eating a different cake than what they had seen at the high table. They just ate and danced and celebrated. And Chioma sat there, smiling for photos, laughing with her husband, pretending. After the reception, late that night, Chioma pulled her mother aside in her bridal dress. Tell me everything. So her mother did. The 7 a.m. delivery, the plastic flowers and the raincoat fondant, the frantic bakery calls that went nowhere, Adeze's phone being off all morning, the desperate flower cover-up, the ShopRite backup cakes. Chioma listened in silence. When her mother finished, she sat there for a long moment. So Adeze just delivered that thing and disappeared. Yes, she won't answer calls. She won't give a refund. She hung up on Auntie Bibe, said the money was spent. Choma pulled out her phone. She tried calling Adeze. Voicemail. Again, still voicemail. She sent a text. Adeze, we need to talk. Call me. Delivered, not read. She stared at the screen. I'm sorry, her mother said quietly. I should have. Mama, I chose her. I wanted to save money. She laughed bitterly. And I didn't even save money. 3 days later, someone tagged Chioma in an Instagram post, Adeze's account, a photo of a cake, not the disaster she had made, a beautiful professional cake from someone else's wedding. The caption, so blessed to be part of beautiful weddings. DM for bookings. In the comments, Adeze had added, recent work for a gorgeous bride. Chioma stared at it. That wasn't even her work. She had stolen someone else's photo. Something snapped. She clicked comment and started typing. This is not your work, Adeze. You stole this photo. What you actually made for my wedding was a disaster with plastic flowers and a cocktail that collapsed in front of 300 guests. You took my money, delivered garbage, then disappeared. You won't answer calls or give refunds. Do not hire this person. She hit post. Within 20 minutes, 78 likes. Other people started commenting. Wait, what happened? Is this true? Then other victims appeared. She ruined my daughter's birthday cake. This woman blocked me when I complained. I lost money to her too. Adeze deleted Chioma's comment. Chioma posted it again. Adeze deleted it again. Chioma screenshot the exchange and posted it to her story. This is what happens when you try to cover up your scams. The story spread, shared and shared and shared. Within 2 days, over 15,000 views. Adeze's account went private, then disappeared entirely. Chioma never got her refund, never got an apology. But she got her voice. 4 weeks later, a new Instagram account appeared. Different name, different photo, same person. The bio, natural skincare specialist, organic product for glowing skin, DM for consultation. Adeze had moved on because that's what I can do it cheaper people do. They fail, they rebrand, they try again. The damage stays with the customer. 6 months later, at a friend's wedding planning meeting, someone mentioned needing a baker. I know someone affordable. No, Choma interrupted. Don't do affordable. Do quality. The room looked at her. My wedding cake cost me 140,000 naira and collapsed in front of everyone because I tried to save 40,000. There was silence. Who should we use? Sweet Dreams Bakery. They're expensive. They are worth it. Every year on the anniversary, Choma's husband gives her a cake. Always from Sweet Dreams. Always perfect. Always with a card. Worth every naira. And every year, Chioma thinks about that wedding day, the disaster in the storage room, her mother and Auntie been frantically covering it with flowers, the tears sliding off in front of everyone, her own laughter, half joy, half desperation, the 140,000 naira lesson. She thinks about all the other people who have followed for I can do it cheaper, and she is grateful not for what happened, but for what she learned, because now she knows that cheap really cuts. And she knows that sometimes I can do it cheaper just means I can't do it right. but I will take your money anyway. Some lessons, you only learn the expensive way. Chomas cost 140,000 naira plus plastic flowers plus a viral video plus a collapsed cake. But now she knows and she wants everyone she can because that's what you do when you survive. I can do it cheaper. You make sure someone else doesn't have to. For more interesting African folktales and stories like this, please do well to like, leave a comment, and kindly subscribe, besties. Subscription is free. It helps us and encourages us to bring more interesting stories like this for your entertainment. Until I come your way again, for now, bye, besties.